Been canning a lot of tomatoes lately, and here's a recipe for salsa that we use from the Ball Blue book that we're doing now that I haven't done before. So I start out with about 20 pounds of ripe tomatoes and a bucket of water just for blanching in, and then I get out my old camp stove for cooking down. And you can see we've got a lot of tomatoes now. We're getting probably about 60 pounds a day, and we've been canning them up for the last couple of weeks, so that's been keeping us busy. So for the blanching water, all I do is I just throw in a couple bags of ice cubes, and we just make ice cubes in trays in the freezer beforehand, and just keep them on hand for this time of the year. So you start by bringing a pot up to a real good boil. The more water, the better, and I just throw in half a dozen or 8 tomatoes at a time, just so that the water pretty much comes right back up to an instant boil. And we find that a minute and 15 seconds works best for the tomatoes this size. So after a minute 15 seconds, just take them out and throw them in that ice water, and you want to make sure that that water is always kept cold and icy because it actually breaks the skin free from the tomatoes just about when they hit it. So then my wife started taking over the blanching end of it there, and she's gonna put them in the boiling water, and by now the other ones have cooled down somewhat, so I'm gonna start cleaning them up. Now it's pretty easy once they're blanched. Just cut the core out of them as best you can. I just cut that center out of the middle, and then the skin just kind of very easily peels off of them. And I'm just going to cut them in half and go back and clean up, if I can get a couple more seeds out, or if there's a couple, sometimes you get little hard spots in them and stuff that you want to cut out. And this really doesn't take all that long. It's kind of a tedious thing to do, and your hands do actually get really ice cold from dipping in the water there, but it's something that you really have to do. You can leave the skin on for the salsa. We've tried that in the past, but it can tend to get a little bit tough and chewy in the salsa and alter the flavor, so we like to blanch them first. Now this is a water bath type salsa, so as you'll see in later on, you really can't add too much to it, and it does use a cider vinegar to get the acidity content so you can water bath can it. But it's a fairly plain mixture of vegetables that usually what we do when we open the cans in the middle of winter, we go back and we add the rest of the ingredients to turn into a good salsa. Like we'll add some corn to it, and we'll add refried or black beans to it and stuff like that. So there it is. You can see some of the tomatoes are, they're not all perfect this year, getting a lot of marks on them. I think it's because all of a sudden we got like 6 inches of rain after having a drought for so long. The tomatoes just grew tremendously. It started growing tremendously in a couple of days, and a lot of cracks in them and a lot of splits in them now. But at least we do have a good batch of tomatoes. The blight did not come back this year, so that's a good thing. So I'm basically using for this I'm just using the Amish paste. They have a real good flavor this year, and they stand up pretty good for the salsa. Also, if you look at that recipe on the Ball website, I'll put a link to it down in the description. You'll see that I've doubled the recipe for our use, and I'm doing a double batch, and so basically everything here is twice the quantity of what they list. So then it's a matter of going back through, and once I got that done, I moved back in the house because I'm not going to make much of a mess right now. So I had to first cut up and chop 20 cups of tomatoes. I like to do it by hand. My wife will do it in the food processor. So either way, it doesn't really matter because they do cook down somewhat once you start, heating it up. So it does take a little while, but it's kind of enjoyable, I think. If only I could cut faster. And it's just a matter of scooping them up, and I got a 2-cup measure, and I use this little plastic scoop my wife uses for bread dough, and got a pretty good sized pot out because as I told you, we're doing a double batch, so it does take quite a large pot. So first thing I did was cut all the tomatoes, chopped them up, and got them all in the pot there. And you can see I used little cherry tomatoes just to keep track of how many cups that I put in. Each one of them equals a 2-cup measure, and just so I wouldn't forget. And then I decided to take a pickle break. I've been enjoying my pickles, and I still got a refrigerator full of jars that I put in there a while back. And these don't go in this recipe, but I do enjoy having one every once in a while. So I just pulled one out for a treat. And then you need 10 cups of chopped onions. I used Vidalias on this because that basically is what we had, but sometimes the yellow cooking onions will give it a little bit more flavor. So with the Vidalias, it can be, kind of a real mild salsa, which really is what we like. So these are kind of the end of the season Vidalias, I guess, and we want to use them up before they start to go bad. So then again, here it is. I like to chop by hand, and like I said, anybody else probably would use a food processor, but I just kind of enjoy having things chopped by hand. Then it's the same thing. It's just a matter of measuring it out, and I'm doing 2 cups at a time and adding it to the pot that has the tomatoes in it. So next I went out and I picked an assortment of peppers for this, and you can see I've got a mixture of the sweet peppers and the hot peppers, and I really like mixing them up like this. It gives a better flavor. And there's those habanadas that I grew, and they're pretty amazing. There's some red Belgium peppers, and there's the Anaheim chilies that are going to add some heat to it, and just plain old California Wonder bell peppers and some banana peppers. These are a sweet banana pepper. And Jimmy Nardello's that are a little bit sweeter too. And then there were some Italian stuffing type peppers there. So, first thing I do is I just go through and kind of rinse them all off and make sure there's nothing from the birds or, no animals or bugs or anything on them. Just to, be sure I'm starting out with something that's clean. Then I'm going to start with these Anaheims. And this year they're actually quite warm. I was really surprised. So, if you're gonna cut these, you may want to use rubber gloves, especially if you're gonna be near children or babies or anything after doing it, because these things, are quite hot, and that heat can be transferred to anything that you touch afterwards. Especially don't rub your eyes. So here it is again, just chopping them up and measuring them out and getting the first I'm doing the hot peppers here. Now you can use jalapenos, or you can use anything that's any kind of chili pepper that's got a little bit of heat to it. And same as everything else, you're just gonna go in that pot with the tomatoes and onions. And then I'm gonna do the sweet peppers next. I need 10 cups of chopped sweet peppers now, and start out with these little Italian de Cruno peppers. They're little thick-walled Italian pepper that is so sweet and so great for stuffing. We just really enjoy them, and they do add a great flavor. So same thing here, just chop them up, mince them up, and same thing with the California bell type pepper, and you remove all the seeds and those spines out of them and chop them up. And same thing, these are those Belgian reds, and then the habanadas. And these peppers are really amazing. They have the exact flavor of a habanero, but they have zero heat, so they really do add a great flavor. And in the end, when the salsa was done, I was really amazed. You could taste them, that they were put in there. So they are a great pepper, and trouble is I've got thousands of them now, but I have to figure out something to do with. So there you can see, that's why you start out with a big pot. This pot's getting pretty full of all the ingredients so far. And then I had some of the garlic that I grew this year that I picked a little while ago, and that's just been it's really been an amazing garlic. It's the best garlic I've ever grown for some reason. It's really sweet flavor. It really has a good aroma, and it's kind of sweet, and it does not give me indigestion like some types of garlic can. So I'm really happy with that so far, and it does have a great aroma. It smells really good once you start chopping that up. So I'm going to start out with 6 cloves of that, and same thing, I'm just going to mince it up as fine as I can. And that really, that goes pretty quick. Yep, and pretty soon it'll be time to put some of these cloves back in into the ground for next year's garlic. So I'm going to make sure that I stick with the same ones. Then you need 4 tablespoons of minced cilantro. Now our cilantro all went to seed and turned to coriander seed. So I wound up having to go out and buy some. And luckily I did find some fairly fresh cilantro available. And this stuff is just what really adds the taste and flavor to salsa. You just can't leave this out, and you want good cilantro in it. So this is when the kitchen really starts to smell great. This stuff is just a great flavor. So cilantro's in, and that's pretty much all of the veggies and their ingredients. And you have to add 6 teaspoons of salt. That's really we use a non-iodized pickling and canning salt for anything that we can. So I think that's your best bet, is not to use just a standard table salt. And then it needs 5% acidity cider vinegar, and you need 2.5 cups of that. That does actually give it a little bit different flavor for salsa. You'll see when you consume it, but I really like it. So and you don't want to take any chances with the acid level. And this is just water bath canned, so you can't mess with this. So we had the cider vinegar there, and now I'm just going to take it back out in the garage where I'm chased out to do all my cooking, so I don't mess up the new stove. And I've got this camp stove out there that's probably about 40 or 50 years old that I use for the when I want to have controllable heat on a pot. So I just start mixing that all up, and got it on low, just starting to heat it up, trying to get it to come to a boil without burning anything. In the meantime, I'm going to go inside and start washing my jars. Now these are all brand new jars I'm using, but you still really have to wash them. I got a whole bunch of them for Christmas this year, so I'm trying to use them up. And even though they're new, they still need a good washing, and you really have to rinse them good to make sure there's no soap in them, because it can ruin the final product. Having a good brush that fits in them is really makes it go quick, and it's an easy job. And with the jars washed, you also have to take hot soapy water and wash these new lids. You don't boil them like the old ones. And back out to do a little bit more stirring, and you can see it's really starting to heat up and cook down a little bit now. And then I'm going to put those jars in a canner there and start to heat them up to sterilize them. I'm still heating this up. Now, once it's at a boil, you just I set the timer for 10 minutes, and they tell you to simmer it for 10 minutes. Once we get down to about the 8 or 9 minute mark, I'll start to bring the jars over and get them ready, and you can see they're all boiling hot and sterilized. And you really have to be careful from this point forward, because you're dealing with some really hot liquids and stuff. So I just put them on a wood board next to the pot there to make it easy to fill them. And using wood, you won't have any any shattering of the bottles or anything like you would if you put them on a metal surface or some kind of stone or anything. So now it's time to start filling them. Now I never have good luck at this stuff cooking down, so what I'll usually do is just try to drain off liquid when I fill the scoop, and get as much of the solids as I can. And it's just a matter of filling all the bottles. Now I usually don't fill them all the way up. I'll fill them a half, 3/4 of an inch down there, and just so I can go on to the next steps. You want to try to keep everything, do this as quick as you can, and keep the pot boiling, and just try to keep everything as hot as you can for the best results while you're doing this. So it doesn't take too long to. I got I'm doing a canner full of 9 jars, so it doesn't take too long to get the 9 jars full, and then take the back of that little canning helper thing and poke it in there and get rid of all the air bubbles, and you'll see that the liquid level goes down a little bit sometimes. And then I'm just going to go back now and do the final headspace gauging, and use the first notch on that gauge, and that gives you a 1/4 inch headspace that this recipe calls for. Yeah, these are, it's a real handy little helper to have if you're doing canning, and it really doesn't cost much. Then I'll just go back, take a damp paper towel, and wipe all the seal surfaces just to be sure. You don't want to take any chances. And then those lids that I washed a while back go on, and then the rings. Now I'm still using these ball lids because I have a lot of new jars to use up, but eventually I'm going to switch to the brand that my Amish store sells. And then you just have to adjust the rings on there, and get them fairly snug, and kind of put them back in the water bath canning pot. And this is where you really, you really have to be careful, like I said, because you're dealing with some really hot stuff here. And then for these, you want to bring it back up to a good heavy boil there, and then start the timer for 15 minutes. Now at the, the end of the 15 minutes, you can, you have the option usually to leave them in the pot for a while and allow the jars to cool and the water to cool a little more before removing them. But I have a second batch that I'm going to be running now, so I'm basically going to remove them while they're still hot, and just use some care and put them on some wooden racks that I've made for the canning process. So, as I said before, this is, it's really extremely hot, and you want to be really careful whenever you're dealing with them. So, the first 9 jars are done. Now, this recipe was supposed to yield 6 pints, but in doubled it should have yielded 12. But in the end, I wound up with 18 full pints of the salsa. So, I'd suggest that you get some extra jars ready if you use the exact measurements that they call for. So there it is, getting the second batch of jars in the pot, sterilizing them for a while, and then just going back and make sure everything's still at boiling, and filling the jars the same as I did with the first go around. And as I said before, I did wind up with exactly 18 jars total. So here's the next 9 ready to be sealed up and go into the pot now. And lately we've been doing a lot of processing of tomatoes and sauce, and I really don't want to repeat any of those videos because I've done them previously, so that's why you're not going to see too many videos right now. But this is one that I hadn't done yet, and it's one of our favorites that we do every year. So there the jars are all done. Just let them sit overnight now, and then I'll take them in, take the rings off, wash everything really good to make sure anything contamination is out from under the rings, and then just go back and label them with the what it is and the date, and put them down in the root cellar. In the meantime, the 7.5 hours I've been working on this, I've had a pork butt on the Weber, and it's time to enjoy some pulled pork sandwiches for dinner. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.